Hey everyone, it's Stephanie Higgs. I'm Little Miss Gifted over on Instagram. I would love to see you there. I share new teaching tips every single day. I wanted to share with you one of my favorite strategies for developing the number sense of your students. Using mental math strategies in number talks is one of the most essential steps that I ever added to my daily math block. So for me, when I was a second grade teacher, I started implementing these at least twice a week. So for me, my math block started every Tuesday and Thursday with a quick 10-minute number talk. So I wanted to share kind of how that might look with you. I once was observed by a principal, and she described it as watching my students do mental gymnastics. And isn't that the ultimate goal? If we're really developing and enhancing that strong number sense in our students, their brains, you can almost watch them doing mental gymnastics. So let me kind of quickly walk you through that. The first thing you have to have is Sherry Parrish's book regarding number talks with whole number computation. She has some other varieties as well, but this is a great kind of starter pack. You will love this book because it already has every number talk planned out for you. So typically, a number talk is going to consist of roughly around four problems, and Sherry has those laid out for you beginning in kindergarten, and then they become much more advanced as you go. So you definitely want to get your hands on this book. That's going to be the best resource, and it's really going to guide you in the right direction to ensure that you have really strong problems that are well connected for these exercises. The next thing I would recommend is that you make an anchor chart. So here's an example of mine. I really have specific strategies that I want students to be focusing on during a number talk. And so at first, especially, they're going to need a quick visual tool to help them remember all of those strategies. So you'll notice at the top, I included transition words. It's really important when our students are describing their thinking that they can't just say, well, I just knew how to do it in my head, or I just did it in my head. I'm not really sure how I solved it. We really want to encourage them to think that through. And a scaffold that we could provide would be using transition words. Okay, well, what's the very first thing you did? What happened next, after that, then, last, finally, things like that. So, here are a few strategies that are supported in the work that I've been doing with some of my elementary students. Obviously, you could customize this to fit your own needs. All right, next, let me show you what an actual number talk looks like. So again, I have a digital component. I would be happy to share this with you. It just took me a few seconds to make. So this was done through Google Slides, but obviously you could use whatever programming works best for you in the district where you teach. But what I would recommend is that you're going to have four problems in a number talk, maybe three, maybe five, but typically around four. And so what I do is I only uncover the first problem at a time. So you'll notice I already have the other problems programmed in for the day, but I'm really starting with this first one. And I've noticed when you kind of go ahead and display all four for the day, students are looking ahead and working ahead. So if I really want them focused only on the first problem, I'm just going to reveal that problem first. So what I will do first is I will explain to students what we're going to be doing. I'll remind them to review the anchor chart to help them. And then I tell them that I'm going to give them 20 seconds to mentally solve the first problem with which they're presented. During that 20 seconds, and I set a timer, so it's exactly 20 seconds. We can always be building our students' development and kind of awareness of time by setting a timer anytime we're giving them an explicit activity. So if I say 20 seconds, we've got a timer with 20 seconds. During that 20 seconds, I want them referring to the anchor chart that I just showed you, and I want them solving that mentally in as many different ways as possible. For every way that they solve that's a new or different strategy, I want them to give me one thumbs up. Okay. If they get a second way, I want them to hold up a second finger. We keep this real private so I can see, but nobody else is feeling stressed or behind if they need a little bit more time. But students are going to continue holding up a finger for each additional strategy. What I mean by that is for 50 plus 50, perhaps a student, of course, does just probably know this fact in their head. So this is one where it's really going to challenge them to say, okay, well, how did I just know it? Well, first, I really wasn't thinking 50 plus 50. I was really thinking 5 plus 5. I know my doubles fact, so I know that 5 plus 5 is 10. Therefore, 50 plus 50 must equal 100. So that would be one way that you could solve that. And so what you're going to do is you're going to give students just 20 seconds. As soon as they have a strategy, they'll give you a quiet thumbs up, and then they'll give you an additional finger for each strategy that they come up with during that 20 seconds. Once the 20 seconds are up, I do go ahead and ask students to share with me the sum or the answer to the problem, because you don't want them to turn and talk with a neighbor, which is the next step. You don't want them to do that and share the wrong answer. So you want to be sure that students are going to be talking and communicating about the correct answer. So at this point, I might say, hold the answer in a bubble, blow it out on three. 1, 2, 3. And I do my hands like this, meaning I want everyone to share with me. So they would all share that the answer was 100. I would record that answer of 100 on the board. Again, that way they can visually check back. And then I would give them 20 seconds to turn to a pre-assigned partner that they're sitting right beside on the carpet so that they can have, again, just a 20-second quick chat. So it is helpful if it's the same partner every single time. So I would say something like this: break. And students would say, okay. They would turn and talk. I always say elbow to elbow and knee to knee. So we're sitting right there. We're in the zone. We're chatting with each other. We're referring back to that anchor chart and we're talking about as many different ways as we can solve as possible. If students have the same idea, I teach them the sign language for me too. They would share that and then they would refer back to the chart and say, okay, well, how else could we have solved? Ms. Higgs is only giving us 20 seconds, but how else could we have solved that problem? It seems like we both did it the same way. So what would be a different way? Once the 20 seconds are up, you'll hear me say, toot, toot, and the students will go, shh, like a train. And then at that point, students will begin to share out. So I will take just 2 different solutions for each problem to keep us on track. So you have to think, once we have this procedure in place, it is the exact same every single time. So the first few times it's going to take a little bit longer, but once we are experts with this, that would have only taken about 40 seconds, 20 seconds for students to solve mentally, and then 20 seconds for them to turn and talk to a partner. At this point, it probably will take about 2 minutes for me to have those students share out, and I will record that in the box. So I do take 2 per strategy. So I would share one solution here, a different solution here. Again, as students are sharing, I'm saying, did anyone else solve it that way? If so, give me a me too. And so students are kind of sharing, and then I'll say, all right, I want to hear a different strategy. Raise a quiet hand if you have a different strategy. Another student would share, and I would record that here. That's going to continue for each of the 4 problems with which we're presented. Once you're finished, it might look a little something like this. Now, I've covered up the names of my students, but what you'll see here is that I do record their name at the bottom. So once we're finished and we've solved our 4 problems for the day, I can play a fun game where I go back to that anchor chart and I say, I spy a student who decomposed. Raise a quiet hand if you can give me the name of a student who decomposed. And they might have noticed this friend right here, or this friend right here, or even this friend right here. They're going to give us a name. And then sometimes we do a special fun chant. I have a few of those that I'll be sharing soon. But one of those is looking good. So I might count down and say, let's give them a looking good chant. You ready? 3, 2, 1. Shh, shh, shh. Looking good, looking good. Love that mental math. Love that strategy. Once students are a little more advanced, you can do the opposite. You can say, I'll take 3 shout outs. Raise a quiet hand. If you can look at our anchor chart, you can cite a specific strategy that a friend used, and then let's give that friend a shout out. And they may say, I noticed a student who used friendly numbers. So they were at 39. Instead of taking away 20, they broke it down and they took away 10, and that got them to 29. Then they took away another 10, and that landed them at 19. So I noticed a student who used a friendly number and decomposed, really, they decomposed that 20 in order to get their final solution. So that's a great way to handle those number talks. And again, to ensure that we get all of that done in a very short amount of time. And then this leaves them excited for the next one. So lots of chants going on, lots of celebrations for all the different math strategies that you see. But this is just a great way to develop and enhance that strong number sense with your students. I hope this was super helpful to you. I would love to see you over on Instagram. Again, that's at Little Miss Gifted. If you have any specific questions or if I can help you in any way, I'd be happy to. You can always email me at littlemiss giftedteacher@gmail.com. Hope to see you soon. Bye.